Going on YouTube, and welcome back to my channel, JoJo Speaks. Thank you all so much for joining me for this being my review for RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 11 episode 6. I'm so sorry that I didn't do a review for episode 5, but I'm here for episode 6, so let's get on into it. A couple things I want y'all to do before we get started. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Press that big white subscribe button. It is free and easy to do. It takes less than a second to mash that thing, so why don't you go ahead and mash it for a brother. Also, be sure to leave a thumbs up for this video. Let me know you're enjoying the content I'm putting out on my channel. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the queens that are going through to the semifinals. Did you agree with the top 2? Did you think that somebody else deserved to be in the top 2? Let me know down in the comments. Are you surprised at who the bottom queens gave the points to? Let me know all of that in the comments, you guys. Also, be sure to press the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And last but not least, be sure to share JoJo Speaks with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody know JoJo Speaks is out here in these YouTube streets. So we're in the third and final episode of the second bracket. And the girls are tasked with a makeover. They're making over gay dads. Makeovers have always been my favorite episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. I love seeing people who do not do drag get into drag. It gives me just so much joy. And then to hear the stories of the people who are getting made over, the reason why they're doing it, what their connection has been to drag in the past, things of that nature. It's all good. So I'm just going to talk about each queen individually and what I thought about the makeover overall, how I felt about the outfits that they were wearing, and then I'll talk about the top 2, and then we'll get to the way that the points were given out at the end of the episode, and then the 2 queens that are moving on to the semifinals. So first up is Silky Nutmeg Ganache. Silky Nutmeg Ganache had a challenge because she didn't want to go for the easy makeover. She didn't want to go for, there were 2 African-American gay dads that were there. And Silky won the mini challenge, which was a whole slapping thing where they give an insult to someone and then the person that they give the insult to slaps them. And Silky had the best reads. It's basically a reading challenge at the end of the day. It's basically a reading challenge. But anyway, so Silky picked a guy that she felt like would be a challenge for her. I will say I liked the paint that Silky did on her face. I was not a fan of the outfits, however, although they did look very similar. And one thing I gotta get out the way before we move forward. Michelle's judging on the makeover challenges have always been a thorn in my side because I never know what Michelle is looking for. For instance, Mikey Meeks won the makeover challenge in season 18. And yes, both of the outfits were extremely similar, almost the same. The hair, the makeup was almost the same. So it's almost like Michelle wants them to look like twins. But then when they don't look like twins and she still says that they've done good, you know, she likes little differences in the outfits or little differences in the makeup or little differences in the hair. It's very hard to understand what Michelle is looking for when it comes to the makeover challenges. So I know I will be extremely frustrated if I was on the show and I had to do a makeover challenge and, you know, because you don't know what they're looking for. Because all they say is that they're looking for a strong family drag family resemblance. And I feel like all 6 of the queens did just that. Now, whether you like the outfits or not themselves is one thing, but did they meet the challenge? And I feel like all of the queens actually met the challenge this time around. But anyways, I did not care for the outfits that Silky made. Well, not made, but she had made, for this challenge. So I was not necessarily the happiest with what Silky came up with. The looks looked very cheap. They looked really sort of kind of raggedy. The fabric didn't look well put together. It just did not look good to me. Next up we have Aura. I wasn't a big fan of Aura's outfits either. I did love the hair. I did love the makeup. Aura's a great painter. She paints beautifully. But I just was not a fan of the outfits themselves. And then whatever it is they had around their head, like it was just really, really confusing to me. It really was. Next up, we have Selena S. Titties. Selena S. Titties definitely did a great job with her makeover. I did love the concept of these high-priced robbers who are in pinstripes and, you know, they're looking good. So I thought Selena did a great job. I will say though that Selena painted a little harsh this time around. Like this is the most makeup that I think I've ever seen on Selena before. But I did love the outfits. One was in pants. I think the other one was in a skirt or something of that nature. I thought the outfits went along very well, and I did think that she met the challenge. Next up, we have Crystal Method. And of course, Crystal Method's outfits are very out of the box, very out there, very what you wouldn't necessarily expect to see out here. Like you just, it was ugly to me. And you know, Crystal ended up having one of the African American makeovers. Excuse. Okay. So I'm sorry, that sneeze just came out of nowhere. But yeah, Crystal did end up having one of the African American gay dads to make over, and he seemed to be very uncomfortable with what Crystal had shown him as far as what her previous drags looks have become, and you know, kind of gave him an idea of what her aesthetic is, and he was clearly on the fence about that. But he said that he was open to, you know, to the experience. And the thing is, if I go for a makeover challenge, if I'm going to be one of the people made over on RuPaul's Drag Race, I want to be like a pageant queen. I want to look like, you know, the ultimate glamazon. Like that's what I would want. And if I was on RuPaul's Drag Race and I got teamed up with someone like Crystal Method, I would not be happy with that experience whatsoever. You know, the guy who she made over, he didn't speak negatively about Crystal's aesthetic at all, which I'm happy that he didn't do that. It's just that it wasn't the experience that he was expecting to have. So it is what it is. But yeah, the outfits looked really messy, really hodgepodge, really Halloween store. Like it was just thrown together, ribbons just falling off of it was just a mess for me. Next up, we have Vivacious. Vivacious was very nervous throughout the entire episode because she's been read on her makeup skills. And to me, like, I don't dislike the way that Vivacious paints, but at the same time, as a drag queen, that's like requirement number one to be able to do really good makeup. Now Vivacious did a great job with her makeover. She had the other African American gentleman, gay dad that was there to get made over, and I thought Vivacious did the best job this week. The hair seemed to be almost exactly the same. The dresses were really cute. Something that I do wonder is how is it that they're able to have outfits made for their makeover challenges, but not know the dimensions of the person they're making over, like what their size is, how tall they are, how big they are. Like, I don't know how they're able to do that, but the dress that Vivacious had made fit beautifully on the queen that she made over. So I was very happy with that. The makeup looked great. To be honest, I feel like they almost look like twins to me. They were around the same age. So they looked extremely similar to me. And I was so happy for Vivacious doing great on this challenge. I really was. And then last but not least, we have April Carrion. As you guys know, April is my favorite from this bracket. I loved her in season 6, although she only lasted, I think 3 episodes altogether. Yeah, she was on 3 episodes. So I was very much rooting for April. I knew that she would not be able to get to the semifinals, which we'll get to in a moment. I knew that wasn't going to happen. You know, she's just not a jack of all trades when it comes to this drag race thing. But I wasn't the biggest fan of April's outfits that she had made. It just was not my favorite. April is typically very glamorous. But, you know, to be honest, I really don't have a good idea of what April's drag aesthetic actually is, because with her only being on, you know, season 6 for 3 episodes, we only got to see 3 runway looks, and one of them she actually made from scratch. So I still don't have a good idea, and I don't follow her on Instagram, so I still don't have a good idea of what April's actual drag aesthetic is. I have enjoyed the 2 looks, the 3 looks rather, that she's had, 2 out of the 3 looks that she's had on this season of All Stars 11. But this makeover look just wasn't my favorite. It just wasn't my favorite. So anyways, the top 2 queens are Selena S. Titties and Vivacious. And right before the lip sync happens, Selena's talking to Aura and she's saying Brat Pack or whatever it is that pack that they had going on. She's trying to remind her of, you know, she still wants her points. So, anyways, they do the lip sync to Super Bass by Nicki Minaj, which I was extremely surprised about. But this was filmed last year, and this was before Nicki was doing all the things that she was doing. So I guess I understand why this snuck through the cracks. But Vivacious clearly did not know the words, which was embarrassing for me to see. But at the same time, I don't know if I would necessarily expect for Vivacious to. I won't go there. I won't go there. But Vivacious just didn't know the words. She was doing a lot of mouthing. She was doing a lot of movement. I was surprised at how much she was actually moving through the lip sync. I think she wanted to show Rue that she's not stiff, and I think that she accomplished that. So congrats on that. But Selena S. Titties did end up winning the lip sync. So now we get to the bottom four giving out their points. And apparently during Untucked, Silky had promised both Aura and Crystal her point. So we'll wonder how that's going to go. So Crystal ends up giving her point to Silky because she promised Silky the point, and she's expecting for Silky to give her point. But Silky goes on to say she wanted to make sure that she had the best chance of moving on to the semifinals. So she basically threw away her point and gave it to April. Crystal was shocked, whatever. Anyway, so then Aura gives her point to Silky as well because Silky told her that she would give Aura her point also. But Aura gave her point to Silky. And then April gives her point. And when April is explaining that she's going to give it to a Latina queen, I'm fully expecting her to give it to Selena. And she actually ends up giving it to Crystal. I don't know how I feel about that. I have a feeling because April was given both of her points to Selena in the first 2 weeks. So it shocked me that she would make the decision to give her point to Crystal. I don't know if production had anything to do with that. I don't know. I'm just saying that it did not make much sense to me when I was watching that April decided to give her point to Crystal. Yes, I understand that the three are all three Latinas, so I get that. I don't know what went into that decision. And Selena was extremely upset. She was telling Aura not to talk to her. She was upset at April, even though she really didn't voice that too much, at least not to April's face. But she told us in the confessional. So, so it turns out that Silky and Crystal are going to the semifinals. And Silky during Untucked was apologizing to everyone. And then she, with Selena not wanting to talk to Aura, she was telling Selena, you need to talk to her, you need to talk to her. So, it is what it is. But are these the two that I expected to go through? I don't know if I really necessarily had any expectations as to who would go through to the next round. A lot of times when someone, especially with this bracket system, a lot of times when someone's in the top at least twice, that's typically a shoo-in for them to get into the semifinals. So I should have known that after the first week, I knew that Crystal was going to get into the finals, into the semifinals rather. I just did not know who was going to join her in that quest. So turned out to be Silky. I'm not necessarily expecting for Silky to win the whole thing. I really don't know who's going to win, but it seems like, it might be Crystal. I don't know how I would feel about that. I'm definitely rooting for Akira to win the whole thing. Now, I've seen Nina Bonina Brown do some reviews, and she said that Akira didn't seem to be too happy with the way that her experience was on All Stars 11. I don't know how that all turns out. Maybe she's one of the first out in the semifinals. Who knows? But we start a new bracket this week, this Friday, so be on the lookout for that review. I'll definitely review that episode. Be sure to join me every Thursday night at 8 p.m. for my live Hot Topics and Social Commentary show. I go live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. with my sister Prophetic Fire Reiki, as well as our friend Bianca Edwards. We always have an amazing time talking about the latest happenings and goings on in the world. We talked about the beginning of the Carmelo Anthony case this past week. Last week, rather, we also talked about the South Carolina store owner who took the life of a 14-year-old. We talked about his not guilty verdict this past Thursday as well. So be sure to join us every Thursday night for Hot Topics and Social Commentary. Love you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out, y'all.